Just over 2 months from now, on Monday, February 3rd, the first votes of the 2020 presidential campaign finally will be cast in the Iowa caucuses. A pair of new polls this week showed South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg as the new frontrunner in the state that is proud of its long tradition of kicking off the election. Among other voters, the Democratic primary candidates will have to win over farmers in the state, and one in particular. In fact, Joe Biden went to see him just yesterday. Harry Smith introduces us in our Sunday Spotlight.
On a farm just south of Des Moines, Matt Russell helps with the birth of a calf.
There you go. Good job.
He's a fifth-generation farmer, and his connection to the land and what it can produce is visceral. Is there still some romance left out here?
It's all romance. Funny to come.
Matt and his husband Patrick bought the ground and the house 14 years ago, converted it from corn and soybeans to almost all pasture and produce.
We shifted that, so now we have much better water quality coming up. We're not depleting the soil, but we're actually building up the soil.
Matt is a leader in a movement toward eco-friendly and sustainable farming. His place has become a must-stop for Democratic candidates. His message? Iowa can help cure the climate ills that plague the planet.
The science is pretty clear that we can start to pull significant amount of carbon out of the atmosphere and put it to work in our soils. And when we do that, we reduce the emissions from agriculture, so it's a twofer.
Russell had studied to become a priest, then devoted himself to public policy. When he came upon this farm up for sale, he realized he had finally found his true calling.
When I figured out my discipleship, what's my call, it was sustainability, natural resources, agriculture.
So that's your holy trinity.
There you go, yeah.
The blue-jeaned evangelist speaks in church basements and barns, his sermons sounding warnings of the coming climate apocalypse.
If we keep this in corn and soybeans for the next 20 years, just like it is right now, we're essentially saying we're accepting the tipping point.
We give up.
We're going into the catastrophic climate crisis.
One by one, he's been converting farmers into the communion of carbon sequestration, the process of capturing carbon from the atmosphere and storing it in the ground. Iowa State agronomist Dr. Emily Heaton says, indeed, there is salvation in the soil.
This is the magic stuff.
Yep. So there's about 2.5 feet of this right here.
Yeah.
And this used to be in the atmosphere, right? This is dark because there's soil carbon in here that used to be in the atmosphere.
Right.
That the prairie captured, put in its roots, and put in our soil.
Prairie, pasture, perennials can form something like a giant vacuum to cleanse our poisoned skies. And water, too. But if I'm a farmer,
I don't get paid for that.
You can't take prairie to the elevator and get a check for it. That's true.
this, however, could be a cash crop, Miscanthus giganteus. Planted once, it's a grass that will grow to over 12 feet high, year after year.
As a carbon sequestration tool, it's fantastic. It just keeps sucking up carbon. We use the above ground stuff for whatever we want, fuel, building materials, animal bedding, you name it. And then what is put below ground just stays there.
Could this really be the future?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is a big piece of the puzzle.
Iowa State has fields full of experiments and measuring stations to monitor ways farmers can lean into the future.
I think I'm a realist. I'm from this land, and I want this land to persist.
And for that to happen, it very likely means paying farmers to implement some of these practices. For true believers like Matt Russell, it would be money well spent.
Is this doable? I mean, you talk about this stuff, and it's an election year, and there, people start to, the Iowa farmland can help save the planet.
Right.
I mean, really?
Yeah, I believe it with everything I've got.
For Sunday Today, Harry Smith, Ames, Iowa.